What's up, fam? How are y'all doing today? This is Scorch the Fears, episode 45, which is pretty freaking crazy. We've got the dope Jacob Simpson here. He's a beast. We met each other at the Astro Mastermind. I'm just going to go live on IG here real quick. He's dope. I'm so excited to hear his story. And dude, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. So tell me real quick, how'd you get into real estate, dude? Steve Train question. Like, how'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, so it was kind of a weird like introduction into real estate. So kind of to back it up, like a couple years back, probably like 5-6 years ago, I was really big into stocks. And somehow, I was planning on getting into management and kind of being a manager and then, just investing all my money into stocks. And I had never even thought about real estate as being an option. Ironically, I got fired from my first job that I went to. And then I went into another role and a sales role. And one of my colleagues mentioned Grant Cardone. And so she was like, I think you'd be a really good person at real estate based on your personality. You should look into Grant Cardone, try to get into multifamily, all this and that. Looked into Grant Cardone and I was like, okay, there might be something here in real estate for me. Like I said, I've never really entertained it prior. So, let me read some Grant Cardone books. I think it was one of his free, like how to invest in multifamily for free book or something like that. And so I grabbed that book, started reading it. Didn't know how I was going to get into multifamily. So I was playing Xbox one day with my buddy Mike, and he worked for a title company called Allied Title up here in Northern Virginia.
Into real estate, right?
Yeah.
Playing
and so
your boys.
Yeah. So I was playing Xbox exactly. And he goes, hey man, I know you're trying to get into real estate. There's there's like a lot of people who are coming into the title company doing what's called wholesaling. You should look into it. I think you'd be good at it. And I'm like, he told me about it. I'm like, dude, this sounds like a scam. I'm not even going to look into this. Like, I'm just going to go with stocks, like I said. And my mom, like 2 or 3 days later, she was like, hey, my best friend's husband is in real estate. You should talk to him and see what he does. So I jump on the phone with him one day on the way to work and he's like, yeah, man, I own a wholesaling business. And I'm like, okay, this is the second person to tell me about wholesaling in in a week. And so I'm like, okay, let me actually take a look into this. I looked into it and I came across like Wholesaling Inc., the podcast, and I started diving into it, listened to Brent Daniels and them. And I was like, okay, this sounds like something that I can help a lot of people at and make a lot of money. I've tried Amazon FBA. I've tried stocks. I've tried Forex. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. And that's kind of how I got into real estate.
I love it. So hold on. Let's actually, I need to change this question up and be like, how'd you get into entrepreneurship? So like, let's go back a little further than that to start the story. Like why were you even interested in stocks? Like what, did you always want to start a business? Like what, let's go back a little further than what I said.
Yeah. So I've always, excuse me. I've always been interested in owning a business. So when I was younger, there was kind of 3 options for me. It was either going to be a business owner, it was going to be an engineer, or a lawyer. So I either wanted to be a lawyer, engineer, or a business owner. I think a lawyer, because everyone just said I was just kind of combative as a kid. So everyone was like, you'd be a good lawyer. And then an engineer, because I've always liked math and I knew you can make a lot of money in engineering. So, engineering was a possibility. And then I just always have been interested in owning my own business. So when I went to school, I looked into, excuse me, I don't know what's going on. When I went to school, I went and looked at the engineering program, and it was like 5 years of pretty much just science. And I was like, oh man, I'm not into science, I'm into math. And then literally right there, I was like, well, I'm going to become an entrepreneur then. And then I signed up for, I think it was it was management with a concentration in entrepreneurship. So all of my classes were around like owning and starting a business.
Nice. So, okay. So college is the answer. You started taking college classes on like business management and stuff like that. And you're like, I want to start my own business. So then keep going with the story.
Yep. So pretty much jumped into it, was like, okay, this is definitely for me. And then I thought I was going to go into management, and I started looking at all the manager jobs. I wasn't a big fan of the jobs that, basically I had to start really entry level position to work my way up to a management level. So it was going to be like data analyst or, data entry or something like that. And that didn't really interest me. So I started looking at sales positions, and that's when I came across like a sales development rep. And basically a sales development rep's job was cold calling other companies and trying to schedule appointments with my company. And then when I got fired from that one, I moved over to another job doing the same thing. And when I heard about wholesaling and cold calling, I was like, well, that's an easy transition. My entire job is just cold calling people. So I already have that skill. I'm already comfortable with it. If you're telling me I can just cold call a homeowner, get a property locked up, and then cold call a buyer and sell that property, count me in. And so that's kind of how I went from, entrepreneurship to sales, and then jumped into real estate.
I love it. Cool. All right. Awesome. And then what do you think? So what made you, was it literally just process of elimination type of stuff? Or was that really what like did it where it's like, nah, it's going to be business more or less?
Like I remember standing in the orientation room where you like sign up for your major, and we went over. So my plan was, I went down to Radford in Virginia, and my plan was to go to Radford for 3 years and then bounce over to Virginia Tech for 2 years, because that's what you could do for their engineering program. But when I went and looked at the classes, it was like physics, biology, chemistry. And I was like, isn't this supposed to be math? And they were like, oh, no, like engineering is a lot of science as well. And I remember just looking at my mom, and I was like, this isn't for me. And she was like, what? Like, you've always wanted to be an engineer. And I was like, nah, like I want to be a business owner now. And we went over to like the entrepreneurship area, and I signed up for the major there.
I love that. Damn, that's crazy. So was it okay? So did you start your business right after college then?
No, so I was bouncing around. So I was looking at Amazon FBA. I was playing with Forex. I was looking into stocks and day trading. But I really wasn't giving anything.
Right.
Yeah, dude, I wasn't giving any.
Like, I mean, that to me, like it screams, and I did this too. Like, I'm definitely not above it. Is like, what are the best ways to get rich?
100%. It's like, how do I get out of a 9 to 5?
Amazon. I just drop shipping. It's just funny.
Yeah, literally. I tried all of it, right? And then so I remember so I went into my 9 to 5, and I was just trying to figure out ways that I could get out of it, because in Northern Virginia, the traffic is pretty bad. I'm assuming it's similar to like in LA or New York. Probably not as bad, but it's up there. So it would take me like an hour and a half to get to work every morning, and then an hour and a half to get home. And I just didn't like my job. So I was becoming a pretty, unhappy person. So when I went to my second job, I remember my grandma got dementia, and she moved into a retirement home. And I asked my boss if I could move into the retirement home, or move like back to my area so I could help her transition into the retirement home. They told me no, but it was a cold calling job. So there was nothing that I really needed to be at work for. And so in my head, I was like, all right, I have $20,000 in my 401k. I have like $10,000 saved up outside of my 401k. I luckily still lived at home, and I wasn't paying rent. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with this place. I'm dumping my savings. I'm taking that 10K. I'm dumping my 401k, taking that 20K and going elsewhere.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of how I went full time into wholesaling.
Okay. So what, say again, I think you might have said it earlier, but say what specifically attracted you to wholesaling versus any other type of real estate investing, or like, why did wholesaling hit you better than the crypto or you didn't even say crypto, but like the Forex trading and the stocks? Like, why'd that hit better?
Yeah. So sorry, I don't know what is going on.
You want to get some water real quick? You can go get some water if you got it.
I was gonna say, but so basically I was looking into, I tried like Amazon FBA. It didn't really work for me. I still do have some like stocks. So I still play around with stocks. And so I never really got out of that. but I never gave anything like the momentum it needed to actually gain traction. So when I had two people tell me about wholesaling, like my buddy at the title company mentioned wholesaling, and then my mom's friend mentioned wholesaling. So once that was, the two people who mentioned that, then I was like, okay, I did some research. It sounded like something that I would be interested in. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I think I read Think and Grow Rich. I think I listened to Wholesaling Inc. and the first person on there was like, you should go read Think and Grow Rich. And
That's
at that
the
time,
one.
I wasn't reading anything. So I was like, all right, let me grab Think and Grow Rich and see what this has to do. And one of the things it talks about is kind of, giving it your all and making just, kind of putting everything into it and making sure your vision becomes actually like manifested. So I was like, all right, I'm bouncing between too many different things. Let's just go ahead and jump into this. Think and Grow Rich tells me that I need to just focus on one thing and one thing only. I can't be bouncing around and all this. So I'm just going to focus on wholesaling until it happens. And then it took me like a year and a half to get my first deal, but I was just so committed, and in that journey that I couldn't back out. But it was really because I had failed
It
at
took
so
you a
many
year and
other
a half.
things. Yeah.
That's a long time. What do you think? What do you think happened? What do you think made you take longer than most people? I'd say like the average is like 4 to 6 months.
So I would say for me, it was a couple things. It was not knowing my market. So that was the biggest thing. I was listening to everyone with their 70% minus repairs, minus wholesale fee.
Mm-hmm.
So in my market, I can sell deals at 70% ARV or at 64% of ARV, depending if it's a cosmetic or a full gut. So I was using 70% minus repairs minus my fee, which was putting me at like 50, 45%. So everyone was coming in higher than me. Then I switched it to 80% minus repairs, and still I was getting, outbid. So finally, after I, kind of lost on so many deals, I went to the person who kept beating me on the deals. And I said, hey man, the sellers really, really like me. We can get deals cheaper than what you're getting them locked up at. Rather than competing with each other, let's figure out a way to work together so we can both make more money instead of competing and then trying to just get a little bit out of each deal because me and you are upbidding each other. And he was like, that sounds like a good idea to me. So started working together. And then, yeah.
Nice. Cool. But do you think it was like, you said it wasn't knowing your market. Was it that you didn't know, like go into that more? Was it like you didn't know the buy formula that your buyers were using? Was it more yeah? So like go more
Yeah.
into that. Specifically, what does
Yeah.
that mean?
So I didn't know where my buyers were buying at. I didn't know, like I said, it was really just a formula. So once I started learning how to figure out where buyers were buying at, and if you look at where a buyer bought a deal at and where they sold it at, for example, if they sold it at $1 million and they bought it at $700,000, that's 70% of ARV. I never was looking at that before. So I was getting a lot of leads in, but when I would go on the appointment, I was running my numbers off of 70% minus repairs minus my fee. So in this example of $1 million, I would be at 70% or 700,000. And then let's say I was thinking it was going to take 200,000. Now I'm at 500,000. And then if I want to, add a $50,000 fee in there, I'm at 450. Now I know that same deal might be able to sell at 700,000. So where I used to be at 450, now I might be able to come in at 650. So there's a $200,000 difference in where my numbers used to be. So it was just not knowing the buyer's buy number, and I was able to comping wasn't an issue. It was just figuring out where the buyers needed to be at.
Okay. Gotcha. And then, so how'd you remedy that?
So long story short, I kind of, my first deal, so to kind of back it up, my first deal came from a text message. So I originally was doing cold calling, and I was bouncing all over the place. So I was doing like cold calling, direct mail, Facebook ads,
That's
whatever.
usually what I hear is like the biggest issue if someone took a while to get a deal is like they did several different outreach methods and they didn't stick to one. That's usually what screws you up the most.
Yep. So I was consistently cold calling, but yeah, I was texting, door knocking, Facebook ads, SEO, Google ads. Like I tried everything. And so I was bouncing. And then to your point, not only that, I was trying Ohio market, Jacksonville market, DC market.
Yeah, that's what did it.
So it was just bouncing all over the place. And then ironically, my first deal came from a text message. So it came from a text message, sent it to a homeowner and asked if they wanted to sell their house. He responded back to me saying, I don't want to sell my house. I'm actually a fix and flipper, or I'm an investor. And I have another property under contract that I can't take down anymore because one of my other projects is going south. Do you want to buy that one? And I was like, send it over. I looked at it and I was like, hey, this doesn't work for me, but I can bring someone in who would want to buy this. He was like, if you bring someone in at 525, I'll give you 10,000. Anything above 525, we'll split 50-50. So I brought my buyer in and he closed on the deal. So I kind of astro flipped.
What you make?
22.5.
Nice.
Yeah. So I made 22.5 on my first deal. And then that was in January of 2020.
How did that feel? I love asking that question. How'd that feel when that money hit the bank?
It was pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie, but I'll be 100% honest. I had worked for a year and a half. So at the same time, I was already in the mentality of like, I'm already making these deals. And once this deal hits, I'm just moving on to the next one. So although it was super, super great, it wasn't something that I like loathed then. It was like, hell yeah, this is fantastic. And then I kind of just moved on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was because I had a year and a half to just visualize myself of getting it for so long. So in my head, it was kind of like I already had made that money.
How did you like keep with it for a year and a half without a deal? Because that's a long time. Like what was going through your head? How were you not like losing faith and all that?
Yeah. So I really got into personal development. And I think it was just a combination. One, there was a few things. So like I said, it was bouncing between like Amazon FBA and everything. And then I was like, okay, I'm committing to wholesaling. And then after you're so far into it, it's kind of like, I can't quit now. But I also knew it worked. So I was talking to people who, I saw wholesaling and doing deals. I'm watching videos of people doing deals. So I knew it worked. And then on top of that, I'm big into personal development. And one of the main things was, with every failure comes a lesson, right? So no matter if it's a bad call, a canceled contract, a bad appointment, whatever it is, as long as I learned from it, I'm just one step closer to getting the deal. So it was kind of a thing of mentality, watching other people, and then not.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Are you the one with the Discord notifications going off, or is it me?
I don't think it's me. I have my notifications off.
I'm gonna like have to figure out. It's something that I realized recently watching my own podcast and being like, God damn it, like my Discord notifications have been going off.
Go on. Are you on a Mac?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say turn your notifications off.
Like it's going over and over and over again. Let me see. now it's annoying the hell out of me. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna I closed it. I'm wondering if it's like replaying it right now. I've got literally nothing open but this and the folders. All right, anyways, whatever. I'll like check that out later. I need to figure that out.
All right, cool.
It's just gonna be a thing, I guess. Like whatever. I'll like figure out why that's going crazy right now. Keep going.
Where was I at?
So you were talking about, I forgot where we were at. So we were talking about how are you keeping the faith of wholesaling?
Oh yeah, so it was just a combination of, watching other people, not wanting to give up on myself and mindset. Mm-hmm. And Yeah. And then, like I said, after a certain point, I was so far into it that I really was just like, I'm not going to give up on myself. And so I don't know. I think it was just that kind of drive and being really big into motivation and just practicing mantras and being like, okay, I know at the end of the day, it's gonna work out for me. My journey is not everyone else's journey, and as long as I'm learning from everything that I'm doing, eventually I'm gonna be able to apply what I've learned into actually getting deals, and the deal flow will be consistent.
All right, I turned off all my notifications on Discord. I literally just turned off all the sound. So if it stops, then it was me, and if it keeps going, it's you, dude. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, cool.
But I think it was
If it
me.
keeps going, I'll look at mine then.
So amazing. Okay, so yeah, because I feel like that could be very useful to like a lot of people in the sense of I think so many people like I really like your story because I think it's a really good example of I agree that part of it was you not knowing your market, but even more is you were in 3 markets all
No,
at
so
once.
I only was in like Ohio for like not even a month, in Jacksonville for not even a month, but I was bouncing everywhere with marketing strategies more or less. And
I
with
think that was
this,
also a huge part of it.
yeah,
Like
but it was
that's
really like, and I would say the other thing was not working with other people. So it was not knowing my market, not working with other people, and shiny object syndrome.
gotcha. So how'd you figure this out? How'd you figure out like I need to start working with people, I need to stop getting shiny object syndrome, I need to stay consistent? How'd you figure this out?
Yeah, so honestly, it was super weird. So I got my first deal about a year and a half into it. So I started in like August of September, I think 2019. And then I got my first deal January 2020. And that deal came from a text, like I said. So that deal didn't even come from a homeowner that I was reaching out to. It came from an investor who had that home under contract. So fast forward a little bit, then I reached out to the guy and was like, hey, how do we work together instead of competing against each other? And so me and him started working together. So I sent out probate letters. Again, I'm bouncing all over the place, right? My first deal is from a text message. So I send out probate letters. I have an agent call me and says, hey, my client got your mail and she wants to sell the house to you. So I didn't know how to work with an agent. So I looped in the person that I had built that relationship with and said, let's stop competing. Let's work together. So I looped them in the mix, and then they got the property under contract. We sold the property and we split it 50-50. So my first deal came from text message, working through an investor. My second deal came from probate letters, working through a real estate agent and another dispositions wholesaler. So my first 2 deals, again, are like kind of accidental astro flips or micro flips. And then my third deal, or I think I had like,
what a micro flip is to people
yeah.
who
So a
don't know.
micro flip is essentially when you bring in like when you're either using another wholesaler to help you sell your deal, or you're using another wholesaler to bring you in a deal.
Usually when you do both at the same time, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Correct. So
So like for his,
a co-wholesale would be when you have a dispo wholesaler help you sell your deal, or you have a acquisition wholesaler bring you a deal. Technically a micro flip then. So I technically co-wholesaled. So a micro flip in that case would be if you use an acquisition wholesaler to get your deal, and then you use the dispositions wholesaler to offload your deal.
you sort of micro flipped on the second one because you had the agent,
Yeah.
though you kind of send out your own letters, and then you add the disposition wholesaler. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's just technical stuff that people should know. But
Yeah.
keep going.
So I had like 22,000 on the first one. I think the second one was like 12,000. And then I'm still cold calling at this time, trying to get deals and nothing's really working. So I'm just kind of stuck. And I remember talking to that person that helped me close that second deal. And I asked him, I said, where are you guys getting most of your deals from? Because they did like 120 deals by, I think, like August or something. So I'm like, where are you guys getting most of your deals from? And they said other wholesalers. And I was like, okay, so most of their deals aren't coming from homeowners. my first 2 deals didn't even come from homeowners. So how do I figure out how to work with other people? And then,
Interesting.
around that same time, and this was right around the time where I was very anti-guru. I did not want to be I didn't want any gurus talking to me, really. I didn't want to hear any of their nonsense. But I had an ad pop up with Jamil, and he was like in the igloo, and he's like shivering, and he's like, "Are you tired of cold calling?" And I'm like, damn, man, like, am I ever tired of cold calling? Like, I really don't like gurus, but the least I can do is hear this out, because maybe they have something that they can share with me. Set up a call. They give me a call, and they basically tell me, we teach you how to work with wholesalers and get deals through other wholesalers. And I was like, for real? Like, this is what I'm trying to do.
Right.
So I'm like, how much is it? And at the time, again, this was like 2.5 years ago or 2 years ago, and it was like 6,000, I think. And I only had 6,000 to my name. And I was like, man, I don't know. And they're like, well, we can put you on a payment plan. And if we do that, hopefully you can get a deal before you run out of your $6,000. And I was like, all right, well, this is like my last option at this point. I've made like 70,000 cold calls. I've sent out mailers. I'm down to my last 6,000, and nothing's really working for me. So let's just give it a shot. I put all of direct to seller on hold and joined Astro Flipping and went through their model strictly. And then things just kind of ramped up from there.
I love it. That's so cool. So, man, I love it. So tell me how, what was the reason that like switched? It was just because it was because you literally just wanted to learn that, right? Like that was like the main reason that like changed your perspective. But talk a little bit about that feeling, because I feel like it's hard for people, especially if they've done maybe a few deals or done no deals, to sign up for a program, because it's interesting, right? Like I was very anti-guru as well. It's funny, Astro Flipping picked me up after a month of wholesaling. I was like, oh, I don't know what I did. I might have just screwed up. But like I got hooked by Josiah's ad, which was like another one where it's like, what if we teach you a way better way than spending all this money on marketing? And I was like spending 1,000 a month or something with the cold calling and everything. And I was like, this freaking sucks. So I talked with them. They told me how it worked. And I kind of watched an interview of Jamil. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a risk. Then I did that first week, and I was like, okay, I think I did the right thing. And obviously, we joined the best program possible. But getting to my question, what do you say to people who still have that mentality of like not using a guru or being too afraid of like spending the money to get a guru?
So I would say you don't need a guru, or you don't need a mentor. You can definitely figure it out. There's plenty of people who have figured it out without a mentor or a guru to look up to. With that being said, it helps you if it's a reliable guru. Like, there's a lot of courses out there that are trash. I've joined probably 7 courses before Astro Flipping, and there's not a lot of good ones.
Yeah, you joined 7 courses before Astro Flipping?
Yeah, I've had a lot of, and it was kind of me joining and people sharing. And so, I went through a lot of courses.
Were they like free, or were they like, did they cost money too?
Yeah, no, everyone costs money. Some of them, I think the most expensive one was probably like 500 or 1,000. So it wasn't anything like crazy, but they weren't super in depth. It was all kind of like the same exact thing, the same scripts, the same objection handlers. And so, it really wasn't like it. So it really wasn't that beneficial. So I would say you can figure it out by yourself, but with a mentor, you're going to jumpstart a lot of trial and error. So again, for me, I went 1.5 years until I got my first deal, because I thought I could do it myself. If I had just worked, it doesn't have to be a course necessarily, but if I just worked with someone, like if I had joined Astro Flipping before in the very beginning, I would have been able to jumpstart 1.5 years, and to your point, probably made it 4 to 6 months. But I didn't do that. And I'm not mad, because it actually helped me in the long run. But, I would say at the end of the day, you're either going to pay for training through a course, or you're going to pay through training through experience. And one of them is going to take longer than the other. And if you're going to go through experience, maybe you get a home run and you figure it out the first time and you figure it out easier. That's possible. But at the end of the day, it's not likely. If, Jamil's done 5,000 something transactions, it's easier to go to someone like that and talk to them when you're starting out than try to figure it out by yourself. So that's kind of how I would look at it. You're either going to pay for it in time and experience, or you're going to pay for it through a mentorship. So if you're hesitant on joining the mentorship, one, if you have the finances to do it, it's a write-off. And two, you're going to learn a lot of value from it. So you might as well jumpstart the entire process and start learning from someone who's done it.
Yeah. Also, my thing is I think it's just all about due diligence and like feeling out their vibe, right? I didn't do that. I wish I had done that, but I'm glad I didn't. I think I just got lucky. Like I could have easily signed up for a bunch of courses that sucked, and I just got lucky with like the right person, right? But I easily could have. But I think what people need to do is, my vote is, if you have the money, join a mentorship or a course, whether it's astro flipping or sub 2 or any really good mentorship for what you want to do. In my opinion, it's kind of stupid not to, almost. Yeah, like I am now very pro guru, but you have to do like research on the guru is how I would say it. So like when I talk to people, it's like, okay, hey, do you have the money for it? If you don't have the money for it, then don't do it. I know I know a few people who like did the payment plan and didn't get a deal and then just never paid the payments. And it's like, that's kind of like not nice and not keeping your word type of thing. But also, you just want to do things like you want them to show you HUDs that you want to see. You want to see the HUDs, and like you want to see that they're doing deals. You want to see that they're credible. Like you want to just do your due diligence. And then also, I would find, I don't know if there are any, like I think literally Pace, Brent, and Jamil are the only 3 that I know where you join their mentorship and you like actually talk to the guy. I don't know how many others there are. But I think that makes a huge difference too. Is like, is the guy who's the brand actually teaching you, or is it someone who taught him only?
Yeah.
Right. If that's true, then like they don't really give that many. They don't care as much, in my opinion. Right. And it's not the same as being able to talk to Jamil twice a week versus talking to, even though you and me are successful, if we were running the course, it just wouldn't be as good because we wouldn't care as much, even if we're both successful students, right?
Right.
And
I think too, the other thing with Astro is like, to your point, there are some courses out there that have like mentorships that the actual, coach does teach a class. And I know a few that are really solid, but I think the main difference that Astro flipping and sub 2 have is, again, I haven't taken sub 2's course, but astro flipping goes more in depth in just the entire process of like title work and mindset, how to get a deal, how to sell a deal, how to find buyers. Like, and a lot of courses don't go that granular. They basically say, pull a vacant list, cold call your list, mail your list, and then here's your objection handlers. And that's really it. They don't really go over the entire process from start to finish. And I think whether you're looking to just traditionally wholesale, like even this course, just from what it goes through from mindset all the way from the beginning of the deal through how to handle title work to how to close the deal or handle how to retrade or objections or anything like that. I think that's another major difference that astro flipping, like how they stand out from, is because it's just, I feel like there's just way more content, and you can tell that they genuinely put a lot of care and thought into the training that they put together.
Right. No, it's true. And like, yeah, like their course is amazing. I use it to train my employees, and then also mix that with just those 2 calls a week is incredible. To be able to talk to like he's literally the best wholesaler in the country. I'm pretty goddamn sure. Keegley does the most transactions out of anybody. So to have like the number 1 guy in the country that you can ask questions like twice a week, like it's insane value, right? So anyways, I think my personal opinion is nobody should try to do it on their own. Everyone should join a good mentorship or a good course, right? Like, why are you why are you, I'm not a huge fan of YouTube University. Yeah, there are like incredibly successful people who do it, but you're torturing yourself for no reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When
And
you
that's what
could
I
like,
was saying, right?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, it took me a year and a half. If I just worked with someone, it literally would have taken me 4 to 6 months, guaranteed. But because I tried to do it myself, I tried to bounce between so many things. I tried to test new formulas. I tried to test all this and that. It wasn't allowing me to get momentum. So yeah, I say the number one thing you need to do is if you're working with yourself, find someone who is doing deals in your area or find someone. I think that's even better. Like if you don't have money for a mentorship, just connect with someone in your area who is
yeah,
doing deals and ask them, hey, I want to do deals. Help me figure out the best way to bring you deals and we can split 50-50 so I can learn this process.
no,
I
I love
just,
it.
yeah. And I think if you do that, you'll naturally start to learn it. And then once you have enough money, jump into a mentorship and then use both of them, use the person in your market and the mentorship, and then take what you need away from both of those, sources. And then you really start to have the knowledge to be able to build a consistent and successful business.
No, I love it so much. Yeah, like literally, I would say that that is exactly the right thing to do is find someone who's doing what you're doing successfully and bring them value. I would say is like the biggest thing is like the issue with most people. I might have to turn on a light here, but the issue with most people is like I bet you get texts. I get texts where people are like, "Hey man, I saw you on blah blah blah. I saw you on Scorch the Fears. I saw you on Secret Agent Challenge. I saw you with your interview with whatever, right? Um, I would love to connect and talk to you." And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why? Why
A
would I
hundred
like?
percent.
I don't want to be an a hole, but like, I got stuff to do, man. Like, what are we gonna do together? How are we gonna make money together? Give me something,
Yeah.
even if it's just like, hey, I'm starting to look for deals in your area. Um, what do you think of this, this, and this? In my opinion, at least that's a start, right? At least there's a potential there, right?
Yeah. No,
And
I
that's
agree, man. I
helpful.
get, I was gonna say I get bombarded by people and I love helping people, but that's the one thing I say is like I don't want to just jump on the phone and talk. Like we need to be talking business because I own a business. So like I don't have time just to talk for 20-30 minutes about nothing. So like we need to have something set up. And like the other thing is like if you come across a deal, you want to at least give it a shot before you bring it to someone. And
Right.
again, loop me in. I'm more than happy to help. But one of my biggest pet peeves is like I had someone, and if they're watching, don't do this again. But I literally had someone send me 47 properties off of Privy and said, "Let me know." I'm not even joking. And they said, "Let me know which ones are a deal."
That's
And
so
I
fun.
was like, I'm not about to comp 47 properties for you and then let you know which ones are a deal. So then you go lock them up. If you expect me to go through 47 properties that you haven't even looked at, I'm just going to call the listing agent myself.
Right.
And so it's like, you need to be, don't be lazy. Like you need to show me that you're as invested in yourself as you want me to be into you.
Right. Exactly. And like I get this. Like I mean, it's like an interesting thing because I'm trying to connect to higher level people, right? Like that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast. And it's interesting. I'm like, I'm doing the exact same thing these people are doing to me, right? It's like, okay, the issue is, and this is what I've realized at like this level is like, okay, the issue is I'm not cool enough. And when I say cool enough is like I don't have as big enough social media following in order for me to connect with higher level people and be able to do business with them, right? And it is interesting figuring out that next step of like that's you. That's like once you get to higher levels, if it's not just doing like you can do deals with anybody, right? Like also like it's either A, be cool enough to have like social media where you guys like start sharing followers, or B, it's the same thing where like you're able to do a deal with them in their market, right? So it's just funny. Like it's just like the next step. I've caught myself being like, I'm doing the exact same thing here. I need
Yeah.
to like actually give value also.
I was going to say,
Um,
but to your point, it's all about that value, right? So like as you have a podcast and as your podcast audience continues to grow and grow and grow, then you can reach out to these people and say, "Hey, come on my podcast," because now when they're on your podcast, it's helping them get more exposure, helping them get more followers, helping them get more sales in their course, helping them get more deals sent to them. And in turn, you're allowed to be, or not allowed, but you're able to get into the same room as them or the same coaching calls or, whatever. You're able to get in the same areas as these people. So, to your point, you might not, you just got to create that value and leverage your platforms to be able to get in the same rooms as them. So yeah, I mean, as long as you're creating value, it's going to happen.
I love it. So cool. I want to get into, so I like asking this to real estate investors. Like, what do you think your superpower is in real estate? Like, what is like what are you incredibly good at in comparison to other people in this space?
So I would say probably being like really like knowing my numbers, either knowing my numbers or, um, I don't necessarily think I'm the best person that talks to people, but I have a lot of people who tell me I'm a really good speaker and I have the gift of gab or whatever you want to say. So I would like to think that I'm able to get a lot of options signed and I'm able to get a lot of deals through agents sent to me because I'm good at articulating or good at speaking to people. So I would say either my superpower is, you know, communication or, research into my market and just understanding my numbers.
So go into that more. Like communication sounds like one other people have told you, which is dope. But you say your superpower that I can tell like that's the one that you think it is knowing your market. So like what does that mean? How does one know your market?
Yeah. So like right now we just kind of tapped into Tampa and St. Petersburg. And so we are like, I just pulled 100 flips and I looked at, where the flip got bought at, where it got sold at, and then I take the percentage of that number, and then I have that for 100 flips, and I'm able to see like, okay, in this market, on average, deals are being bought between 55 and 65% and 60 and 70%. So as long as I get a deal under those numbers, I should be able to move it. And I think constantly knowing your market and knowing, what's going on in your market helps you. So for example, when the market shifted, when everyone's so we used to be able to sell deals at 64 to 73%. Well, everyone's still trying to offer 73% on their deals or try to sell them super high. I'm looking at the numbers in my market and saying, well, now it's shifting. Now it's 60%. Now it's 67% or 66%. And so I think by knowing my numbers, it helps me know what's a deal and what's not, but also helps me communicate to other wholesalers what's a deal and what's not. So now they're not wasting their time locking up deals and trying to sell deals that aren't opportunities. They're focusing on only opportunities, sending it to us or other dispo wholesalers. We're able to sell them because they're not bad deals, which allows them to focus on getting more deals. So I think just knowing your numbers helps you get more deals. And it also, depending on if you're working with wholesalers, it helps other people figure out where they need to get their deals as well.
Love it. So, okay, cool. And then okay, so maybe I missed it and I was like dazing out or something. But like how do you actually get to know your numbers? Is it like meeting other disposition wholesalers? Is there like a data-driven approach? Like let's say you're starting in a new market. What do you do?
Yeah. So I literally am doing this right now for Tampa and St. Petersburg. So I go onto Zillow and I go into like sold in the last 90 days. And I go into the keywords and I type in like fully updated or fully remodeled. And I'll take that property. I'll put it in like batch leads or prop stream, see if it was owned previously by an entity. If it was, I take where that property was bought at. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use $1 million. There's not a lot of $1 million properties down there, but let's say, for example, up here, we come across a property that was listed or it's sold at $1 million on October 10th. And then it was bought in August at 700,000. So then I put those numbers in the spreadsheet and then it pops out with 70% ARV. And I do that for 100 different properties or as many properties as I can in my market. And then I look at, okay, so let's say if I have 100 properties, I'll probably take out the top maybe 30 and the bottom 30, and then I'll have the middle 40. And it will, because I'll assume there's outliers. So I'll assume some of the top ones are hedge funds or something like that. That's going to skew the results. And I'll assume the bottom ones are going to be like new builds or just really, really deep discounted properties that are going to skew the results. So let's say like I'll take out the top 30 and the bottom 30, and then I'll have the middle 40. And then you can look at where those percentages meet at. And typically you'll have like a 10% range. So you'll have like 50 to 60% or 55 to 65%. And so now I know based off of 100 flips. Now keep in mind, this isn't for rentals. So rentals, you're going to have to try to figure out, you're going to basically do the same thing, but you'll have to figure out the ARV yourself. So yeah, so now that you have all those ARV percentages, you can safely say like, okay, based on 100 or 200 flips, I'm seeing that buyers are buying between 55 and 65%. And if you continually update that, you're going to be able to have a market picture of what's going on. So you'll be able to see, hey, a year ago they were buying at 75, now it's at 65. And if you wanted to take it a step farther, you could essentially take that data and just, plug it on a map and be able to see like where all of those flips are. So if you get a deal, you can plug it into that map and it will pop up and show you where, like who's flipping around it.
I love it. We got a question here from the audience. So how long does it take you to do that, to analyze those 100 flips?
Pretty long.
Like how long? Like
I'm just trying, let me think. It depends. What was that?
Probably a week or two.
No, I would say maybe like a couple days, not even.
Okay.
It probably like realistically like 10 hours.
I don't feel like that's that long. Like a couple of days.
You're sitting there for 10 hours. That's a long time to sit there and scrub data. But I would say like 10 hours where it's like the main thing that can get difficult at is when you go into like a property and you're not seeing it's a flip. It's like a homeowner who just bought it. And then you just keep finding homeowners who are buying these. So the main thing is really trying to figure out that keyword in Zillow. So that way when you put it in.
What are the keywords you think are the best ones?
So I like to use completely remodeled, complete remodel, completely updated, fully updated. And that's pretty much like the main ones that I've been using right now.
Hold on. I just completely screwed up the spelling of it, but I'm writing them out right now. Complete remodel.
Yeah.
Fully updated, completely remodeled, new remodel.
Yeah. So just something like kind of like alternatives around that. So you could probably do like newly updated, something like that.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, so you basically take that address. Again, if it doesn't look like a flip, don't even waste your time. But if it looks like a flip or it's priced higher than a lot of the other properties around there, you take that property, put it into batch leads, and then you go over to the sale and it's like sale and loans. And then
you want to do something real quick? You want to share your screen and just quickly do one? Let's just do that.
Yeah, I probably could.
So go down to the bottom. You see where it says present?
Let me pull up batch real quick and then.
It'd be pretty cool. I think it'd be cool to show them. And then my niece says rehabbed. I think it'd be cool to literally just show them right now on the podcast. I know it's usually an interview style, but let's teach some people some stuff that's useful too. Real quick.
Yeah, let me try to find a property real quick that has like an example.
We'll share your screen. So like, we're not just sitting here waiting.
Good point.
Go down to present and then you'll click share screen and I'll bring it up.
All right. So say I go into like Zillow, and then we'll go like Tampa, and then we would do sold. And then I would have, like, let's say we're just looking for houses right now. So we would select houses and then deselect everything else. And then we would jump over to the more drop down and we would select like sold in the last 30 days. I guess you could put year built, but I'm not going to select that. So you could do sold in the last 30 days. And then your keyword could be completely remodeled. So now just for everyone who's listening, we did the sold filter, and then we did only houses, and then we selected sold in the last 30 days with the keywords of completely remodeled. So then you can see it pops up with a bunch of properties, and then you can come over here to the right and it shows you all of the properties that have completely remodeled and the keywords. So let's say you click into this one. You can see this was sold 10/6/2022 for $430,000. So if we take the address and we come over here into batch leads, or we come over here into PropStream, or you can probably even do it in Privy, and then we put the address in, we hit search, takes us to the property. Let's see. So I don't know if this one's going to be owned by an entity, but you would come over to sale and loan. And then you would scroll down and you can see this one was bought in 2021. And it looks like the seller was Vintage Homes and the buyer was a homeowner. So this isn't going to show us the person who just flipped this one. But essentially what we're looking for is the date that we just saw. So we would see 10/6/2022, and then the seller would be an entity. So we would take that entity and then, we can go look them up, but then you can also say like, okay, now we have the purchase price of $325 and then the sale price of $480, and you take $325 and $480 or whatever the numbers were.
And then do that 100 times, make like a list of it. I like
exactly.
it. There is a very similar method that I use. It's really similar that, by the way, guys, you should look out for, because I'm gonna release a YouTube video on it. It's almost the exact same thing, except I just use Privy. Right. And it's how I'm starting to figure out more of like the market shift. I wish I knew it earlier, because then I would have not, I didn't, full discretion, guys, from I think I didn't make any wholesale deals July. Because June I was took me too long to figure out what the hell was going on with the market. So I kept locking stuff up too high. So it's super important to be able to do things like this. And I'm going to release a YouTube video that goes into a really cool method for this as well. This is cool because it uses Zillow. The one I use is Privy, so it costs money. So this is a more free way of doing it. But yeah, you guys will see that tomorrow. So awesome. So that's how you find out every single market. So every single new market you go into, that's how you start, right?
Yeah. So I wish I could find an example of, so like this one says 1 month right here. If we go into sale and loan. So this looks like it was bought by an LLC and sold by an LLC. So probably two hedge funds. So you can see it was bought 3/9/2022 for $357,000, and then it was sold 9/20/2022 for $489,000. So if you take 357 divided by 489, that puts you at 73%. So this one would be 73%. And then you just put that in the spreadsheet. And then to your point, you do that for as many properties as you can. And then whether you're using Privy, whether you're using Zillow, whatever you're using, once you have a big enough amount of properties, you'll be able to get a good idea of where buyers are actually buying at in your market. And so that way you don't have to go off of the 70% minus repairs. You never have to factor in repairs ever again, because at the end of the day, you can just look at your spreadsheet and say, oh, this buyer right here just bought this at 70%. And this one bought it at 60%. And this one bought it at 65%. And they just sent it to me at 50%. Nothing in this area has sold under 60%. I can lock this up guaranteed at this number.
Right. I love it. That's cool. Do you also recommend hitting up, like, you probably also recommend, like, you want to do this, but you also want to hit up people who are actually doing deals to double check, right?
Yeah, of course. I would say connect with people in your market, make sure figure out where they're selling deals at as well, and then also do this. And then I would also say, if you're sitting here pulling all of these, you might as well take all of the LLCs that you come across down and then call them and try to figure out, hey,
How do
are
you
you
get their
actively
number?
buying? And then you can now sell them deals and figure out if they're actively buying at those same numbers.
How do you get their number?
So it's a little bit complicated. Sometimes you have to go through open corporates and then true people search. I don't think we'll be able to find it for the hedge fund because the hedge funds are normally pretty difficult to figure out. But you would go through open corporates, you would put the entity in there, and then you would take the agent's name or the owner's name, and you would put that into True People Search, or you would take the registered address into True People Search, find the owner, and then reach out and just, hey,
Literally the same. That's literally the same way I'm doing it. I just do it for, that's crazy. I'm gonna
yeah,
release, guys, tomorrow. I'm releasing a video on how to do that step by
yeah,
step also. So don't worry. Like, we'll get more into this. I'm gonna go back to the interview mode instead of like the lesson learning mode.
yeah, no, you're
Um,
good. But yeah,
yeah,
so it's as simple as that. And then you just call them and you just say, hey, I saw you just bought a property off of Woodlark Drive. Just wanted to see if you're actively buying more.
cool. I love it. So I don't know how to say your name, bro. Swayam, is asking you, how are you getting MLS deals right now, and what are your KPIs for MLS deals? I've been sending around 60 offers per month for more than 3 months and not getting any results. 3 months is not that long, also, in my opinion.
No. So I'm at like a weird position right now where I get so many wholesaler deals. It's hard for me to hit the MLS as much as I'd like to. So I really don't hit the MLS as heavy as I want. From my understanding, kind of like nationwide, the average is 100 offers. You'll get you'll get 7 to 10 locked up. And then out of those 7 to 10, you'll close 1 to 3. So like ideally you should probably close more than that, but on average, make 100 offers, get 7 to 10 locked up, and have 1 to 3 deals closed.
Yeah. I'm
I
not
would
MLS
say,
either, so I didn't know if you did the MLS. What are you mainly doing? Are you mainly doing wholesalers? Like, are you mainly like dispositioning wholesalers, or like what's your main revenue stream?
yeah. So mainly right now we're doing wholesale like dispositions, but we do MLS outreach as well. So we scrub the MLS some as for outdated properties. But right now, because most of what I got started in was wholesaler outreach, and then on podcasts and everything, wholesalers want to work with me. So a lot of my business is just working with other wholesalers.
Okay.
But I do just want to mention, if you're making 60 offers and you're not getting any hits, I have a video going over on my YouTube how to negotiate on MLS properties. A lot of people aren't negotiating the right way. So I would say 2 things. Make sure you're getting the deals locked up at the right numbers, because you might be coming in way lower than where people are buying at. So again, what we just talked about, study your market. But the other thing is, when I negotiate on the MLS, I don't just jump in and say, hey, my offer's 250, cover closing costs, and waive all, we're good. So what I do is I basically say, like, let's say the property's at 300,000 and I need it locked up at 250. I would come in and I would say like, hey, I might be able to do 230 to 240 on this one. Is that something your seller would entertain? And they might get back to me and be like, no, that's, way too low. They might do like, 290. I'm like, okay. Well, what if I waive buyer side commission? Or because I'm coming into this unrepresented, there's no buyer side commission. What would they take at that point? Then they come down a little bit, and then I then I cover all the closing costs, and then I try to negotiate on other terms. So basically what I'm getting at is, don't throw all of your negotiating tips or points in at one time. Save them. Because if you offer 250 and they come back and they accept 250 and they don't, and the closing costs are split 50-50, that's a selling point to your buyer. So how I negotiate is, first, I throw out an offer. If that gets declined, I stay at that number, and then I offer to waive buyer side commission. And then, or you can offer to dual represent. And then if that still gets declined, then I offer to cover all the closing costs. If that still gets declined, I try to pivot to something like closing date or a pain point of the seller that I can use. If there is no pain point, then I pivot to price, and then I start negotiating on price.
I love it. Dropping some gems here, bro. People need to check out your YouTube channel, which we're gonna plug all of your stuff in like a little bit of a sec. But there are like some final questions I like asking right at the end of the interview. So, my favorite one. I'm gonna actually end with that one. Let's start with one that isn't my favorite one, but also a good question. Like, what are the books that you would recommend to anyone who's just starting out in wholesaling real estate or just business in general?
Oh man. So definitely Think and Grow Rich.
Classic.
That's one of my favorites. So I would say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Go Giver by Bob Berg. If you haven't read The Slight Edge by, I think it's Jeff Olson. So The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It's really, really good. High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. And then I would say probably I really liked Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, I mean, I just love David Goggins. I haven't read his book, but he's a beast. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So like, if you could change anything, knowing what you know now, and you could go back to Jacob, right when you're starting real estate, what would you say to yourself now, knowing everything that you know now? What would you say what would you say to yourself then, knowing everything you know now?
I would say work with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And delegate as soon as possible. And the reason I say that is because I'm at a weird point where like I'm finally getting over it and I'm starting to like actually hire people on, but I've been doing this for like 4 years and I've made over $400,000, right? I think we've made like close to 500, if not more than 500,000 in assignment fees now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just me and my cousin at this point. And I just brought my cousin on like a year and a half, almost, maybe 2 years ago. And
you don't have any VAs?
No, that's what I'm saying. I had a VA.
Bro. All right, we're gonna talk. Honestly,
dude, I've had 2 VAs, but I ended up laying them off because it wasn't working out. Like something with the software went wrong. And then so now I'm like, okay, I need to bring on acquisitions and dispositions people. But basically, I would have gone back to myself and said, look, when you closed your first deal at 22,500, you should have hired a cold caller. And if you were working with people, you would have taken off because, shout out to my boy, Jimmy and Tiki. They've done they started at the same time as me, bro. They're partying in like Dubai and Colombia. And like, they have like hundreds of rentals and like, they're crushing it. But it's because I remember sitting in the car one day with Jimmy and he was literally talking about his VAs and he had like 7 VAs or something. Well, I'm over here. We're going to look at an appointment. I'm not making any calls. Well, has 7 people calling for him. And we were kind of at the same point. So it was like, I think the biggest thing I would have said is work with other people, make sure get your ego out of the way, learn from others, and delegate as soon as you can. Once you're comfortable delegating, delegate as soon as you can, or else you're going to dig yourself into a hole where it's hard to pull yourself away from your daily tasks and give it to someone else. So delegate as fast as possible. Fire yourself out of your job as quick as you can.
I love that. I love that advice in the sense that one of my biggest fears, by the way, because this is Skorch the Fears, I remember was spending money. Like my issue was man, if it's me, like I've always, not I've always, but like by like the 8th or 9th month, I had a admin VA. That's crazy. You don't have an admin VA right now?
No, dude. That's what I'm saying.
That's impressive. You made like $500,000 without any employees. That's freaking nuts. Like that means you know what the hell you're doing. But yeah, man. Like I remember having just me and my admin VA, and then like being like, I just did that for a year because I was like scared. I was like, man, like I'm spending $5,000 a month now, but if I start hiring tons of people, then like my burn rate's going to go up and I have no idea if I'm going to make more money. It was like a limited mindset. It was something I learned when I was growing up a little bit of like always save your money, like save for a rainy day. Those are the things that I learned from. You ever read The Millionaire Mindset? I think is the name of it.
No, I don't think I have.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Wait,
I think or The Millionaire Next Door.
no, not that one.
Oh.
It's Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
Okay.
I'm an idiot. That's the one. It talks a lot about like the inner workings of like programming that's been put in you. That was 100% what was holding me back. Yeah, you for sure need to hire somebody. I can't believe like I'll give you some resources after this, and I'll give anyone those resources too. If you guys subscribe, like, and comment on this video, then I'll give you all the resources to hire VAs as much as you want. I might do a video on that on how to hire.
Y'all better start smashing that subscribe button.
Yeah.
But
basically, if you want free stuff, guys,
I pretty much that's where I'm stuck. It's like I know I need to hire, but I'm also at a weird position. So like I need to start, like last year I paid a giant amount in taxes, and it's because my monthly bills, like my monthly expenses in this business are like, you're like, most people don't believe me. Between me and my cousin, I would say I probably spend like $400 a month.
That's crazy. That's nuts. That means you're just paying for like privy.
No, all my expenses are only software. It's Podio, Privy, Batch, Prop. I use like all three of them. So like it's like, yeah, it's just software and then texting.
Where do you get your wholesalers from and your agents and shit like that?
Facebook and MLS.
And then are you just using your phone to hit up your buyers and shit with deals?
No, so I have REI Reply. So it's like $50 a month for REI Reply.
You gotta pay for the text on REI Reply.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it was text. So like, but with software and text and everything, I'm only spending like I said, like $300-400 a month.
That's crazy. That's actually insane to me.
So it hurts me when like I have
you're keeping all of that money. That's amazing. Like that's an incredible rate.
So it hurts me though, because it's like, $30,000 in a month, and then you only paid $300. You're like scrambling to figure out what you can buy to help your business. But then you also think about hiring someone, and you're like, damn, my $300 a month goes to maybe $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month. And then so, it's just overcoming that hurdle. And just getting out of my own way.
You got the same mindset thing for me of being like, man, I really just don't want to spend money. But I'll tell you what happened. So like for me, I'm at about like 60K in revenue average, right? But I spend, like, you still are making more money than me though, because I spend 25 to 30K a month on like everything: employees, software, texting, just my life, like rents and shit like that, my car, all this stuff that I try to add as like a business expense, right? But how much are you working every day? You must be working like 10-hour days at least.
Sometimes, yeah, but the beauty of it is I get so my cousin's on dispositions right now. So he does all the dispositions.
You have 2 people too, which is cool.
Yeah, so he does all the dispositions, and because I've built up such a, like, I'm very vocal, and I was very vocal when I first got started in like the astro flipping world, and I really wanted to make sure that it worked. So I have so many wholesalers sending me deals, and I'm so grateful for it that I honestly don't even have to market if I didn't want to. Like if I didn't call another like agent right now for the rest of the year, or message another wholesaler, I probably would still close, 5 to 6 deals. And it's because people just send me deals all the time, especially people that I've helped close deals, or I'm helping comp, or I'm helping make offer numbers, or talking to the agents for them. So, yes, I work a lot, but it's more just me helping other people comp and put offers in, which I don't really mind. I feel like I enjoy, talking to people. So it's not really like I'm working that much.
How do you do that? How do you get it where like wholesalers are just always sending you deals, and you, like, if you wanted to turn off everything, even though you don't have anything turned on, it sounds like almost like how do you create that relationship? How do you get a wholesaler who will just bring you deals in perpetuity?
For sure. So I'd say the main thing is, look, I'm in a relationship business, not a transactional business.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't look at wholesalers as a one-time deal. I try to look at them as like a person, as a friend, right? So I really try to come into kind of like what we were talking about, going to, meet people who are at a higher level than you. When you enter that relationship, you provide value. Well, I enter any relationship trying to provide value. Like, that's just what I do. So when you're a wholesaler, when I first start talking to you, if I hear that you're struggling, I automatically go to, how can I help this person? And I start offering advice. I'm trying to help them get things locked up. So it's a sense of helping them, which builds trust. And then not only that, when I get a deal sent to me, I work very differently than other wholesalers do. So I don't like a traditional JV. I'll take 50% if you want to offer 50%, but typically what I do is I add my fee on top. So when I got into JV wholesaling, I hated JV wholesalers. I'm not going to lie. And a lot of wholesalers dislike other wholesalers. It's just a common thing. So I said, how can I differentiate myself from these wholesalers that I don't want to be like? Because I don't want to be labeled as that JV daisy chainer person. So because I was doing direct to seller for 2 years prior to that, I was able to kind of figure out what they did that I didn't like. And the main takeaways was, they tried to lock deals up exclusively. So they would like tell you they're a buyer and they would get an assignment, and then they wouldn't actually be the buyer. Or they would tell you they're a buyer, get you to a property, and then when you're at the property, they would hit the switch and be like, I'm not a buyer, I'm actually a wholesaler, I can bring people. And you're like, why did I just drive out here? So, and then not only dealing with like people bringing you out there and telling you, they're buyers. You also have people who are trying to JV and do 50-50, and they're just bringing a buyer to the table. So I was like, okay, how do I differentiate myself? And I figured out that if I were to work non-exclusively with other wholesalers on everything, I'm not trying to tie up your deal exclusively. If I was to add my fee on top every time, and if I'm getting a big enough fee to give you more, I'm going to help you get more. For example, if you're making $5,000,
That's right there, the difference.
Yes.
I already know it, because that's not what I'm doing, and I don't have that many constantly bringing it back. I guarantee you that's the secret sauce right there, is you give them more. So like, you dispo a deal more, and you're like, hey man, I got even higher than I thought, I'm going to give you some of it.
Yeah, 100%. So like,
that's 100% the deal. That's why.
Yeah. So for example, like, let's say someone's expecting to make 20, or let's say they're expecting to make $5,000 on it, right? And I send it out with a, let's say $25,000 marked up on top of it. So I could walk away with $25,000 and he could walk away with $5,000. Instead, I go to that wholesaler and say, hey, my buyer's in at this price. I'll send it to you at this, so you can walk away with 15 and I can walk away with 15. Or if they're making 20 and I'm making 30, maybe I can say, hey, here's 25. Or, if they're making 30 and I'm making 25, and, I can give them a little bit extra. In that case, I probably wouldn't, because they're making a good amount. But in the sense that if they're making 5 and I'm making 25, and I can give them 15 and I can make 15, I'm going to do that, because now they're like, damn, I was trying to make 5. Jacob just got me an extra 10 and he didn't even have to do that. And so in my eyes, when you position yourself like that to wholesalers, you create a relationship. And then once you start to sell their deals, and then especially when you give them more, now you've really created a bond. And it's not even at that point, it's not even yes, it's a work relationship, but if you help someone make $30,000 or $60,000 consistently, you're changing their life, like literally changing their life. So they want to help change your life, just like you're helping them change their life. So people will literally start sending you their deals, and want you to sell them because the last deal you helped them make 60K on or 50K on. And now they want you to get your bread. So it's like, yeah, it's all about building relationships. And I think that's really what helped me build a consistent deal flow through other wholesalers.
I love that so much, guys. Like that's always what it is building relationships. That was such a good, I'm going to end it there with that because that's such a good way to end it, of being like, be a go-giver, go give more than what you get. Like in terms of content. And then also like, if you're making so much freaking money, dude, like don't shortchange the acquisition guy. Like don't make him feel like he's an a-hole for making 5K when you're making 25K, and he'd be like, oh damn, if I just told like Jacob 20K more, we would have flipped this, right?
Yeah. And the other thing too is you got to put yourself in the shoes of an acquisitions wholesaler. Like they spend marketing money. If you're a dispositions wholesaler, a lot of times you're not spending that much money. Again, I'm not spending a whole lot. Like the wholesalers who send me deals, for example, if you're acquisitions and you're spending 10K, 20K a month, and you send me a deal and you're making 5K and I'm making 25K and I'm spending 300 a month, I morally and ethically don't feel comfortable taking that away from you because you've put in so much more work than I have. So the least I can do is offer to give you a little bit more. So that way you feel like you also came out on top. Everyone wins. And at the end of the day, you're not sitting there thinking after the deal closed, damn, should I ever send Jacob a deal again? Because
right.
he's not gonna, look out for me. He's gonna just make sure he wins, and then I walk away with as little as I can get. Or are you gonna look at me as, damn, Jacob really looked out for me. I'm gonna make sure that I look out for him because, and we're just gonna eat together.
I love that so much, bro. That's such a good message to end it with. So, how can people reach you? What do you need in your business? What are you trying to plug?
So if you want to reach me, I have my Instagram. It's the real Jacob Simpson. And then Simpson is just like the TV show, The Simpsons. So the real Jacob Simpson. I have my YouTube channel, Jacob Simpson, REI. So real estate investing, like REI. Let's see. What else?
What do you want right now? Like if somebody, we were talking about this earlier about bringing value first. What's the best value somebody could hit you up on Instagram and you'd be like, fuck yeah. Like,
oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I'd say more deals.
More deals.
Yeah. We're working. So either more deals or, if you're looking to join a solid team, like we are looking to bring on more acquisition and dispositions people. But in the sense of like, if you're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia, or Florida markets, especially Tampa, Jacksonville, and like the DMV area, we have those on lock. We have a lot of buyers. So if you're bringing in deals over there, you need help comping a deal, you need help putting an offer number together, like I'm happy to help. Just, I just put in the effort before, so that way you're learning as well instead of building a reliance on me. But at the end of the day, I love building relationships. I love helping people. So, the more deals we have coming in, the more I help people make money and the more we all make money. So send me all your deals. If you want to come work for my team, reach out to me on Instagram. Let me know. And I think that's pretty much it.
Love it, bro. So basically, guys, if you need a job or like you really want to you don't have any money, you don't want a guru, and you just want to make a ton of money as ASAP, go work for Jacob. He's making, you said 500K, 450 to 500K, and you're like just you and nobody else, you and your cousin.
My cousin, yeah.
So like, that's crazy to me. That's like insane. Like you have no help and you're making that type of money. That's awesome, dude. 100% get him deals, get him work for him if you feel like that's a good option for you guys. For me, all you guys need to do is smash that like button. I like that. I forgot that YouTubers say that. Smash that like button, subscribe, just comment. I want to engage with you guys. I'm trying to build I want to build like an educational community here. It's not just entertainment. I want you guys to get what you're looking for in your real estate journey. So that's it. You can also reach me on my Instagram at the skorch, but that's really what I'm trying to build here. And I could use private money, but I don't even care about that. Just do that. So, all right, I'm gonna end it there, bro. You got anything last words?
Nah, make sure everyone smashes the like button. Go beat the like button up until it's black and blue, and then make sure you all subscribe to his channel as well.
I love it, bro. All right. I love it. Episode 45 in the books. Jacob, you're a beast. And I will, next week. I will see y'all next week, 5 p.m. PST. Let's go.